Hello, Barbara. Welcome to LawWiser.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. And you've been an immigration lawyer, and I think you are wearing several hats, at the moment as an immigration lawyer. And one of the things that you do along with, the lawyering is also to kind of, educate people, make people aware of making the right choices. But let me just start, by asking a question that, what exactly is the area of work you have, and then talk about a little from the from like the association's viewpoint, that what exactly are the goals and objectives of that.
Great. Yeah, so I've been practicing in the area of immigration now for over 25 years. The focus is primarily helping companies with bringing people to Canada to fill labor needs. Sometimes it's executives or people with specialized knowledge that are being transferred within an organization. Other times it's a new hire or someone with a specialized skill coming in to fix or repair equipment in Canada. We also represent individuals, professionals that are looking to relocate to Canada. And we do help families too with reunification and sponsorship. But that tends to be a smaller piece of our book of business. And then I've been active for the last 10 or 15 years in the Canadian Bar Association, advocating for change in policy and operation and in regulation. Within the immigration environment, and more recently with a new organization called the Canadian Immigration Lawyers Association, CILA. And we launched about a year ago, and we have over 500 members. And we're here to advocate on behalf of immigration lawyers and immigrants to improve the immigration system in Canada, and also to educate the public on the services that immigration lawyers provide.
Super. So I think that's a very important aspect, because a lot of people in India particularly are interested in migrating to Canada, but there are so many different options available, and it's difficult for them to kind of figure out what to choose. But we'll come to that. I mean, first of all, I would want to ask you a question about intra-company transfer. And this is in light of all the delays that are happening at the moment, in terms of PR decisions and all of that. How is that affecting intra-company transfers, or there is a separate stream for that?
Yeah, well, I think that the whole pathway to permanent residence in Canada now is driven by coming to Canada first. Whether you come as a foreign student and then graduate, get an open work permit, acquire Canadian experience, and transition to permanent residence, or whether you come as a foreign worker, and I would say most would come in the intracompany category. It's alive and well, although all of the immigration streams right now in Canada are suffering from COVID fatigue, I would say, and there are backlogs in pretty much all streams. But that doesn't mean that you should give up on Canada as a choice of doing business. I just think it means that you need to plan accordingly. You need to know that there could be longer than usual processing times to get folks across and into Canada, and you need to be strategic about planning to allow for those additional processing times right now.
So from company's viewpoint, I mean, very often there's a gap in some kind of skill set that the companies have, and for which they invite migrants, but a delay of 2 years or 3 years in getting that person on board may also upset companies' plans to kind of to run their operations. So do you think that companies are still gung-ho about it, or they're kind of putting it at the back burner? I mean, this question is particularly from the company's viewpoint.
Yeah, I don't think companies can avoid hiring foreign nationals to come and work in Canada, whether it's through the intercompany transfer provision or a labor market impact assessment or some other type of Canadian work permit. And the reason they can't avoid it is that we've got an aging population here in Canada. And if anything, I think COVID may have accelerated people into retirement. It forced people to stay at home in their pajamas and work via a Zoom and other online tools. And I think for some folks in the latter part of stages of their career, it just made sense to sort of say, well, maybe now's the time to hang it up. So if anything, I think COVID has accelerated the demographic challenges that Canada has or was facing in the labor market. Companies can be innovative and try to recruit locally, try to accelerate training locally, but at the end of the day, they ultimately are probably going to have to rely on some foreign talent. So it is going to be worth the wait. Certainly with intercompany transfers, I'm seeing across the board about a 3 to 4 month wait time for processing. Now, obviously, there's always lead time when you're hiring someone, and then once the work permit is approved, the people have to then wind up their affairs in their home country, and so the whole transfer then could realistically take more than six months to get the person boots on the ground here on Canadian soil.
Okay, now coming to the original conversation that we were having about so many lawyers, consultants, and counsels. They make the Canadian market as well as the countries of origin of immigrants fairly crowded. And so what happens is that for immigrants who are looking to immigrate, very often get confused as to who to choose, whether to have a lawyer on board who can help me get there, or a consultant on board. And one new thing that I learned from you is that registered versus non-registered consultants. So I think it'll be great if you can throw some light on that. I have some more related questions, but let's look at this.
Sure. Yeah, so it's very clear. The legislation, the Immigration Refugee Protection Act, IRPA, says that only a licensed Canadian lawyer can be an authorized representative or a licensed regulated immigration consultant. So there is a regulatory board here in Canada, the College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants, that licenses and regulates immigration consultants. Anybody who doesn't have one of those two designations cannot assist you. So if you have a friend or someone that thinks that they know how to do it and you're not paying them, but they're going to hold your hand through the process, even they have to be appointed as an unpaid representative, and that use of representative form has to be filed with the Canadian government. So it's really important when someone's considering hiring an expert or a counsel to assist them, that they understand who they're hiring and what their qualifications are. And so if they're not a licensed lawyer or a regulated consultant, you shouldn't be going near them, because at the end of the day, they can't file for you. They would be what we would call a ghost consultant, doing all the paperwork, but then not being able to put their name on the paperwork, not being able to communicate with the government on your behalf. And that is illegal. And so you want to stay away from that. once you've identified a Canadian lawyer or a registered immigration consultant, you want to check out their background. So the law societies in Canada have information on all the lawyers that have disciplinary or complaints against them. And so that's a great starting point, is the law society directories. I can't really speak to how well the consultants are regulated and licensed. They're newer. They haven't been around. Their regulatory body hasn't been around the same many years as the law societies have been, who have a really strong record of enforcement and discipline, and ensuring that lawyers are ethical and meet their obligations to the public. It's not to say that all lawyers are perfect, but I have great confidence in our law societies and our legal profession. So you know, I guess to distinguish, some people might say, well, what's the difference between a lawyer and a consultant? Lawyers can represent you in court. Immigration consultants cannot. They it's not to say that all immigration cases will lead to needing to go to court, but that is one distinction. The other distinction is that lawyers have a very unique privilege, and it's called solicitor-client privilege. So anything you tell a lawyer is between the two of you. And that privilege does not extend to immigration consultants or any other profession that I'm aware of. So that those are sort of the primary differences.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that you know, when somebody is actually looking to, you know, have a lawyer on board or a consultant on board, they should actually check whether they, I mean, in layman's language, their name can be written in the immigration form as the use of representative. If not, you would understand that they are not the registered one. So,
Correct.
you know, that is something which you can ask them. And rest of the things, I mean, the law society thing that you're talking about, is there a website or something where one can go and do the research and find out more about it?
Yeah, so each of the, in Canada, we have provinces, and each province regulates the lawyers in that province. So you have to go to the provincial law society. So here in Ontario, it's the Law Society of Ontario. It's pretty easy to find, and you can, you know, research and Google the members and see if there's anybody, the lawyer that you're looking to hire has any disciplinary matters against him or her. You know, lawyers go through, in Canada, lawyers typically have to have a bachelor's degree, and then they do a law degree on top of that, a 3-year law degree. So the education standards are extremely high for lawyers. I think the other benefit to a lawyer is that because they've gone through law school, they will have studied other areas like family law and criminal law, human rights law. And so a lot of those other legal areas intersect with immigration law. So that's, I think, an added advantage of a lawyer is that if your case is complicated, the lawyer is more likely to be better able to assist.
Okay, and so you know, somebody who is actually applying, I mean, what are the main like, you know, so besides company and all of that, what are the main I would say you know, programs that the government is running, and you know, what's your advice to people who are applying for the immigration?
Yeah, so I think most people are probably interested either to come as foreign students, And the student program is one of the most complex of the immigration programs that Canada offers. The student doesn't just need a letter of acceptance, but also needs proof of the ability to pay the funds, and also a study plan, a justification as to why they've chosen a Canadian school and how that's going to help them professionally. Once they're here as students, there's a lot of rules to maintain your status and then to adjust your status to a work permit. And life can intervene. Students may need to take a leave. They may have challenges adapting to Canada and fall off their program criteria. And you have to make sure that that doesn't then impact your immigration status. So again, counsel can help you navigate the system.
Yeah, so for example, if there is a student there and he or she completes, his graduation, the government actually gives 2 years work permit, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if you graduate from an approved Canadian school, not all schools are treated equally in Canada. It must be an approved designated institution, learning institution. Then depending on the length of the program that you completed, you will get an open postgraduate work permit. So if your program was 2 or more years in duration, then you'll be eligible for a 3-year open postgrad work permit. If the program you completed was only 1 year, then you'll only get a 1-year postgrad work permit.
I see. And then, and what time then, after completion of the graduation, one can apply for immigration while you're working over there, you can apply, right?
Yeah, so as I was just going to talk about the permanent streams being federal skilled worker and Canadian experience class, most foreign students, after they have 1 year of Canadian work experience for a Canadian company in a higher skilled role, will be eligible or qualify at least for permanent residence, provided they also are able to meet an English threshold. Similarly, if they've had previous work experience outside of Canada, they may qualify as a federal skilled worker. And their work experience prior to coming to Canada may make them eligible for permanent residence. But unfortunately, just because you're eligible doesn't mean you can apply. Canada introduced in 2015 a case management tool called Express Entry. So once you know you're eligible, you can register your profile in Express Entry. I tell people it's like online dating. So every couple of weeks, the Canadian government swipes up and invites candidates to apply. And then, assuming that you had met the qualifications, then you have 60 days to file your application. So that again is where it's important to have legal advice to make sure that you can meet that 60-day deadline. Every document is met and included, because the system is quite harsh. It will kick you out if you are unable to comply with all the requirements. I feel like in some ways immigration law is way more challenging and difficult than it was 25 years ago when I first started to practice. And as much as the government uses technology to try to make it easier for the user, it adds a different layer of difficulty for individuals, and there's no human body to plea your case to. Oh, I missed uploading a translated copy of my birth certificate. Sorry about that. Here it is. You can't talk to a human. The application's refused. You have to go back in the pool and hope you get an invitation again. So I do think there's value in having legal counsel to assist you. It's not necessary in terms of, it's not a mandatory requirement, and counsel won't get you into a faster queue. But I think there is some good value there when it's an important a goal of yours to be able to remain in Canada and stay permanently.
Yeah, so basically, to navigate through such a complex system, you need help, and that's the reason why you needed to have a counsel. Yeah, so I think, yeah. Anything that else that you wanted to add, in terms of in terms of what viewers should be aware of, or be educated about, when they're applying.
Yeah, I think one thing, and I'm never afraid to talk about this, is legal fees. People, I think, are under the impression you hire a lawyer, it's going to be really expensive. You hire a consultant, it might not be. I think that's a bit of a myth. I think the saying you get what you pay for is very true in this situation. If it seems too good to be true, it's probably not true.
Yeah.
You want to know what you're paying for, and you want to know who's going to be working on your file. Will the lawyer that you retained be the person that is the representative? Will they be working with a law clerk or some administrator in their office? And same with a registered consultant. Who is it that they have on their staff and their team? Are they trained? Are they knowledgeable about immigration and about your case? So I would say people need to be wary of a situation where they're guaranteed a result. No one can guarantee a result. I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm certified as a specialist by the Law Society, but I would never, ever guarantee an outcome. So that would be a major red flag if someone is promising you the moon. You need to maybe get a second opinion, and that's always a good idea too. It's peace of mind. Lots of people buy vehicles and they test drive them. They get a quote, different quotes. So don't be afraid to do that as well. You're going to spend some money on this to get the result that you're looking for. So it makes sense to be asking these questions in advance.
Okay, I think that was quite helpful, Barbara, and a lot of confusion gets cleared when somebody actually listens to all these things. And you also talked about the resources that are available for people to view. So that was quite helpful. Thank you so much, Barbara. That was an amazing conversation, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was nice to meet you and speak with you today.